Doug Bell, what's the word, man?
The word is the word. I've been on 3 hours of interviews, so I'm ready to talk for 2 hours.
Trying to hire people? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That Bud Light that you just showed us, was that a free Bud Light in order to get you to get the vaccine?
I saw that.
Don't you guys have Vax-A-Million, right, in Colorado?
Oh man, I don't even know what they have.
There's a lottery in your state for $1 million.
Don't we have that too here in California?
I think we do, maybe. Yeah.
I did see that Bud Light was like, yeah, go and show whatever, and you get a free Bud Light. I was like, what? I'm not just gonna go and do I go and get a beer?
It's got to be worth more than that. Like, you don't have to. Did you get your vaccine?
I have had dose number 1.
What did you get? The dick
Pfizer.
pill. The dick pill one.
Pfizer.
Pfizer. Yeah, I got Pfizer. And then I have my next one next weekend.
I don't know. Mine said Molly on it. I don't know. Is that the right one?
No wonder you had a reaction.
Totally the right one. And damn, I got the wrong one.
I've been feeling good ever since.
So Colorado has a lottery for $1 million. Is it what? They have $1 million to give out, or what?
Now Doug has confused me. I thought it was $1 million. I thought it was Colorado, so I'll have to verify that. Because now when you said that, I'm pretty sure California does too. Because Debbie and I talked about were we entered, because we've already had our vaccine. So they say you're in it till they
Everybody who got vaccinated is in the lottery. Yeah.
So
I know in Ohio, that's where I'm originally from, right? That kind of stuff, I think, for my good friends in Ohio, that'll actually get some of these knuckleheads to get the vaccine. Like, I can win $1 million. Let's do this.
Is that the official Ohioan accent?
No, and I'll probably get in trouble for that. But are we taping, by the way?
Always.
Hello?
We're live.
we're
live,
on,
bitch.
Dude. Yeah.
Damn it to all fuck. No, that's not the Ohio one. But I still think that we should go on a tour. I don't know if you guys have seen that Ozzy and his son.
That show's awesome.
It's fantastic, dude. Kai and I love it. And I'm like, dude, that could be us. Like,
which one of us is Ozzy? Is that you?
I don't know. I think Mike and I both have Ozzy moments, don't we?
I think
no doubt about it.
It would have to be me. I think
but you're the sober one, though.
Yeah, I know. Well,
so is Ozzy. That's the crazy part.
That's why he sounds so bad.
Yeah, but with all the years that he abused himself with the drugs and the alcohol, are you ever really sober? I mean, is he just so saturated that there's enough alcohol and drugs in him that's why he acts that way?
That's what I'm banking on.
Well, here's a little AA knowledge for you. It takes about 3 months to get clean and sober.
It takes 3 months to get all the stuff out of you?
Yeah.
That right?
Before you can say, hey, clean and sober, you need to go about 3 months to get it all out of your system.
I thought alcohol gets out of your system.
Well, but because most people that are down that road are doing other things besides just alcohol. So it takes a while for some things to run through.
And marijuana, how long does that take to get out of the system, Doug?
17 days last I've heard, something like that.
I
think in Colorado, it's just in the atmosphere.
That's
dude.
right.
There's a stretch on I-25 South when I go down to work that I literally every morning I'm like, who in the hell is burning it at this corner every freaking morning at 6:45 in the morning?
Wow, that's right. I forget it's been legal there for what, 3 or 4 years already, huh?
Well, Colorado was one of the first states to legalize it, and their tax revenues in the first year skyrocketed. Wasn't it like $150 million or something like that? Maybe billion. I don't know. Everything's a billion these days.
These neighbors of ours have lived here for about 4 years.
Oh, and
they tried to tell us that they didn't move here because pot got legal, but everybody's like, "All right, okay."
Are they growers?
Yeah, and they grow it. No. They're actually they've like doubled their house value and are moving back to Pennsylvania to buy like a mansion on, the money that they've made here. And now they're both working from home because their companies went virtual or whatever during the pandemic. And they're like, well, what the hell do we need all this overhead for in a big, office or whatever? So they're cashing out and getting the heck out of Colorado, but most people are moving here.
Yeah, you saw a lot of people come there.
To move to Pennsylvania? Who the hell moves to Pennsylvania?
I mean, yeah, it would take a whole lot for me to move back to Ohio. I can't there's not enough zeros, I don't think.
Do people in Colorado consider Colorado to be the West? I mean, I know it kind of technically is, but do they think it really is the West?
You're out West.
Yeah, you're out West.
So it's funny because these interviews I was doing, literally every person, so the 3 that I did earlier, they all are native Coloradans, right? So they say that because they're like,
what tribe are they in?
What tribe?
You mean, yeah, I got you.
Avalanche. But it's a thing because so many people have relocated here from everywhere else. You go around our circle and you could probably find 25 different states. But yeah, I mean, the true Coloradans, like they talk about things like the Front Range area. I mean, I guess it's similar to Cali. Range. It's kind of weird. Yeah. The Continental Divide is right there. Right. And so on one side of the mountains, it's all beautiful and plush and snowy and green. And the other side, it's desert.
Wow.
And so,
well, here it's one side of Compton Boulevard and the other side of Compton Boulevard is the Continental Divide.
There's a significant difference in certain areas.
Yeah.
Well, every episode we alienate some group from some part of the country. Mike usually attacks the South. So, already in the first few minutes, we've attacked Colorado and Ohio and Pennsylvania. Biden's from Pennsylvania, though, isn't he? Isn't Joe Biden from Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
So that's reason enough not to go there.
He is. There's a big Trump cluster in Pennsylvania, too.
You mean like that's like the Trump rallies where they originate is in Pennsylvania?
Is there a vaccine for the Trump cluster?
No. Yeah, Sputnik. It can only get Sputnik.
Right.
So are you vaxxed up?
No, he's got one, he said.
Oh, just one?
Yeah, just one. Okay. Next weekend is the second one.
Okay.
But I walked into Home Depot yesterday. I was picking up some stuff for a job, and I had I almost thought I still had my mask around my neck. I had my mask around my neck because we still do it at work and stuff like that. And I walked into Home Depot, did all my shopping, and then I walked out and put the mask on as I was walking out. What the shit? So I didn't wear it. Nobody said anything.
So where is Colorado? Are they pro-science or anti-science like we are here in California?
Trick question.
To be honest, I hate to plead the fifth, but they're pretty down the middle. This is a weird place, man. There's we'll have 3 or 4 houses of Trump. We'll have 3 or 4 houses of Biden. We'll have 3 or 4 pot smokers. We'll have 3 or 4 anti-pot smokers. We'll have the old school people, the new school people. It's a weird mix, and it's as you go more north, it gets more Trumpish. And then Denver itself,
it's a capital, right? You would expect be more liberal. Can you not have? Can the pot smokers not be? For how do I want to say this? Can the Trump and the Biden people also be pot smokers? Can that be the common theme that unites us?
Doug Bell, 2026 or whatever. I think there is some of that.
Yeah,
you might have a shot. Facebook is permanently, well, not permanently, but they're extending the Trump ban on Facebook for 2 years. So, take him out at the knees. So maybe you'll have a shot there if you want to put your name in the hat.
Hey, check it out. Check it out. The Trump website got taken. They voluntarily took it down after 29 days for lack of readership. So he got sick of everybody talking about how few people were reading his shit on his personal website.
Who was hosting it?
He was.
Yeah, but it's not.
I mean, what?
Was it Amazon Web Services or something?
No, I don't know. I mean, it was that's a good question. But they didn't take it down. He shut it down because he doesn't like being a loser.
Well, don't you think that's the whole reason why Facebook shouldn't take him down? Because at this point, who's going to listen to him anyway? How dangerous is his speech going to be if no one's listening or following him?
You just mentioned something about Facebook bringing him back in 2 years. Is that something you heard?
Yeah, they
2023.
Yeah, they placed a ban on his account, and they called it permanent.
Right.
This is the whole thing. Gets into big tech, and antitrust and silence
Let's not
of
go
free
there yet.
speech.
We're having too much fun yet. Let's talk about how he's humiliated and can't come on social media.
Well, hey, Doug, are you of all this time we've had this podcast, and you supported us and we chat about all things in the news. Have you ever told us who you voted for? Are you willing to say here and now on the Couch Funeral podcast where you placed your vote?
I think I did in one of my random
All right,
42 text messages.
I promise to still like you, Doug, unless you voted for Trump. Now go ahead.
You know what?
No pressure.
Hey, I don't know if he can make that promise. He's a little hostile lately.
Go ahead.
We have seen some hostility from Uncle Mike, but I always trust Uncle Mike to be there for me for sure.
All right.
So I actually I voted for our President Biden.
Good man.
I have a lot of friends from diverse backgrounds, whether it be international community or just African American, Asian American, whatever, white, black, green, yellow, short, tall, fat, and small.
You know some Asian people
and aliens.
Couple.
How did that happen?
Couple. So it was a super interesting, and this is literally, I mean, your guys' podcast. Long time listener, first time caller, but
first time caller.
I literally haven't been this involved in any type of politics since like 8th grade when I was running for student council president.
So you're a normie, is what we would call you, a normie. We learned that phrase.
And I thought about different things, whose policies, certain policies would help me and whose wouldn't, et cetera, but it came down to Trump's a dick, dude. I mean, he's just a dick. And
so how much of that did you, so you said you really weren't, into it before maybe, what I always say, and Mike and I have talked about this, I think that probably most of the country if you weren't into politics, you couldn't ignore it, when Trump first came onto the scene, because it just changed everything. It changed the conversation. It changed how we talk to one another. It changed everything in this country permanently. Whether or not there's permanent damage done by Trump, that's another story. But I think it changed the conversation and how we all live with politics permanently. So, I mean, prior to that, though, did you align any place politically? Did you consider yourself a conservative or a liberal, or you really didn't think about it?
I'm a registered independent, and I have been since I was 18 or whenever the hell I registered to vote. The funny thing was, so I had a nerdy kind of Wall Streety phase when I was like a kid, and I had Trump, the board game. I didn't
even know there was a Trump board game.
Dude, they're totally.
What was it?
It was kind of Monopoly-ish kind of game. He put his freaking mug on everything.
There are 7 squares on that board game that say bankruptcy. Just saying.
And how many go to jails are there?
Yeah. You basically had 4 shots to land on something good and 22 to land on something bad.
Much like his career.
Yeah. And I even, there was a stint where, I don't know, my dad got me into like Wall Street, and my uncle took us to Wall Street. He worked down on the stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange. And so I was very interested in that. And I would follow the newspaper and like watch stocks and stuff. And my dad gave me like a couple shares of NCR stock one time for a birthday. I think he just forgot and was like, "Oh, here, these are yours."
Did he forget what century he was in? NCR, National Cash Register.
Hey, brother, that's Dayton, Ohio for you. That's their headquarters. So.
That's right.
But I did. I thought Trump was pretty cool for a while, and then I started to grow up and thought politics was evil, and loved rock and roll and that kind of stuff. And
so it wasn't this podcast that convinced you Trump was a dick. You already knew that going into it, right?
Yeah, my wife pretty much reminded me that this guy's an asshole. She started getting into politics more because she became a citizen, and she voted in her first national election was Hillary against the Donald.
What year did she become a citizen?
I don't know if I'm supposed to remember those. I remember,
but it was right before this last election, right?
this was, well, I don't know. It wasn't exactly, I think there was a few years in between, but the way that it fell, she like became a citizen like right after Obama, because Obama was there in like the video to like swear them in.
Right.
That's cool.
I saw one of those one time, an Obama, virtual ceremony of swearing people in. It was at Camp Pendleton Marine Base.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I went down when my brother-in-law graduated, or whatever they call it, from the Marines. Part of that ceremony is all of the Marines that were not legal citizens, but part of the process of becoming a Marine at the very end, they, swear you in and you become a citizen, and I got to see that speech and that ceremony. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was working. So Sarah decided she was going to take up this endeavor and do the studying and put everything together. And then she had to go to Honolulu. So she flew over for the day. I think she took a cab down to the place and got sworn in and flew back to Maui at that point. So yeah, super proud of her when she did that. She was super stoked. And I think that's when we started to get more involved. And then obviously that election, I remember sitting there and I remember her face just being like, hey, wait, what's going on? Hey, wait a minute. But this guy sucks. And then it was like 10 o'clock LA time. And she's like, oh, sweet Jesus, what the fuck happened? When
they give her citizenship, did she have like 90 days to turn it back in, just to make, like, if Trump wins, hey, I want to denounce my citizenship, no harm, no foul, you can have it back?
I don't know. I thought about moving a few times, but no. I mean, I think that, and to be honest, I mean, you guys getting involved with this, I mean, if somebody would say sake to me, I typically want to drink it, but I know that Mike's favorite Gen sake, so
circling
like,
back to Gen sake.
Circle back.
so I mean,
here, let me do a little singing for you. She comes on like a sock.
Nothing like choking when you're ready to perform.
Wow. She comes on like a sake bomb, not like a robot blonde. There you go.
All right.
Moving on.
But no, I think, we just became more involved with it and definitely more interested. I think some of the things that I'm noticing, because I'm a big sports dork and I listen to sports talk radio a lot. And so there's that whole argument of like politics versus sports. Should it be in there? Should somebody protest, take a knee, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of this, it's been intertwined. Trump made it intertwined where you can't get away. It's not like, okay, let me just watch Fox News or CNN or something to follow politics. Now it's like, okay, at halftime, the whole team didn't come out. Why?
Are you finding yourself not tuning into sports as much because of all that? Are you happy that it's back after COVID?
I think it's over.
What's over?
I think the sports protesting stuff is kind of come and went already.
I don't think so.
There's a few. I mean, just the other day, the Arizona Diamond. Well, and I guess it's been such a weird year, but I blame it on Trump because a lot of this leads to racism and, gender equality and things like that, which are issues in sports at times. And I think Trump just put a freaking magnifying glass on this.
Yeah.
And so the Arizona Diamondbacks broadcaster, Bob Brenly, used to be a manager. I believe he made a comment about some guy's do-rag. And he said do-rag. And
isn't that what it is?
Can you not call it a do-rag?
I don't think we can call it a do-rag. I'm not sure exactly.
So he got canceled? Is that where this story goes?
No, well, this is the I guess this is the growth of canceling, right? This guy has taken himself off the air to do some sensitivity training.
That's such horse shit. It is, we talk a lot about this cancel culture shit too. And think about what I always say is that now everybody is looking for this gotcha moment. Everything people say and do, you're recorded, video recording, audio recording. And there are moments like you can go back and you remember, was it Marv Albert famously, God, that was 15, 20 years ago or something. And he made some comment while he was calling a basketball game and he said something like nappy headed hose. Do you remember that, Doug?
Was it? I don't know if it was Marv Albert, but there was definitely.
I think it was.
You can't.
I hope it was Marv. If I just throw him under the bus.
There's another one.
Marv had a couple other issues.
He had some weird shit.
Fetish things.
I can't remember who this was, but there's a word that was used by, I think it was a sportscaster. The word is niggling, right? And
was this recent?
Just a few years ago.
It rings a bell. Yeah, now that you say that.
Because even though, look, for those, if you do any kind of reading, especially anything that was written like in the 50s or 40s or something, so I read a lot of science fiction guys that really wrote their original books back in the 40s.
He doesn't read any of the
50s.
books I give him, but
right. I don't read any books from a right-wing racist white supremacist, but anyway, it's a word you're going to read once in a while, and what it means is something that is like poking you in the ribs and bothering you, right? That's what niggling is. And so he used it and then got all kinds of shit and got fired for using that word.
Did he use it in the appropriate context?
Yeah, but nobody that was upset about it knew what it really meant, so he was fired before he knew it.
So you think he should have got his job back?
I think somebody should read a fucking book.
Why didn't he stand up for himself? Did he go off and do sensitivity training?
I don't know if that was Marv Albert or who that was. That sounds familiar to me, but I have to look that up. Right? I'm just going to Google.
That probably
later.
was a baseball guy. I don't know why I think that.
I'm going to Google later who used niggling and got fired.
I think it's definitely kind of transformed, right? I think the whole Trump saga, the whole political state of mind has crept into the whole sports and stuff like that. And there are definitely friends of mine that are like, I'm not watching that. I'm not watching the NFL. They kneeled. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I like to gamble on the games. And,
right.
And I'm going to watch it for that. So, but I think, to each their own. I mean, viewership is down in that realm. Politics. I mean, anytime it was an election year, certain things would go down and politics would go up, but I think this thing has definitely kept it rolling.
You know what they call that when white fans or white team owners have such an issue about taking a knee to protest police violence, they call it plantation thinking. So
is that the phrase? I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, that's the phrase. So it's like, and there's a lot of, there's a school of thought that all of professional sports is an extension of the plantation, right? Because so many of the players are black, and the owners, feel like, and they sometimes treat them like they're plantation slaves. So, the whole thing's kind of a clusterfuck, right? I mean, it never had anything to do with the Star Spangled Banner or the flag or any of that. It never did. What's the guy's name? What was the first
Colin
guy's name?
Kaepernick.
Kaepernick. It never did when Kaepernick did it. It never did when anybody else did it. But most of the protests from the white fans and the white club owners was racist because they just don't even understand the situation, and they just want the people that they theoretically own because they're their employees to shut the fuck up. Just shut up and play. And that's... I think it's an issue that's ran its course, but, and I don't know I guess I haven't watched a football game or anything. There's been a couple of things I've seen with a fair amount of people in the audiences lately. Was it football?
Well, a lot of places are bringing people back.
Yeah.
It's state by state, right? It's some is mixed capacity, some is full capacity.
You know what I watched was the entire, maybe you watched this, Doug, I don't know. The entire Indianapolis 500 from start to finish.
You must have been bored.
No, it was really good. First time I've ever done it. And
that was a cool finish. Helio Castroneves.
And then there was 40. Let's see, what was it, Doug? 40% occupancy. The stands look absolutely full. I mean,
40% occupancy was what? 300,000 people.
Was
130.
130.
Wow.
Yeah. So how you put 300,000 people in those stands? And I don't know. Debbie thought that. Maybe what they had done was that typically they have fans in the infield, but I don't know because I've never watched it really before, right? When I was a kid, my dad, before it was on television, before it was televised, period, My dad would
before television.
Well, not before television, but my dad would spend the all day that they ran the race. In my memory, it's all day. It's like, it was 8 hours. The race took like 8 hours, right? It took what, Doug? 2.5 hours, right? 3 hours.
Yeah,
like
it can though with rain delays and things.
And so I remember many Memorial Days, my dad running around with a transistor radio in his pocket and one little earbud, transistor radio. And he would, or sometimes he bought some early transistor radio speaker from Radio Shack. It was like a tube. It was like a toilet paper tube with a speaker on both ends. And then he would work in the garage and have it blasting through this transistor. This was great sound, too. So, yeah, it was an interesting Memorial Day. I've never watched I love auto sports, all of it. And that's the first race I've ever watched from start to finish. And it was pretty damn good. And there were no long delays. So that's probably one of the reasons.
Yeah, it makes it easier to watch.
Yeah. I've gone to the Long Beach Grand Prix a couple times. And sitting in the stands for that race is just cars coming by every so often around one curve. It's not an oval.
Yeah, you can't see the whole track.
Yeah. So, for there, then really I need to spend more time in the courtesy booth, the Ralph's courtesy booth, Ralph's supermarkets. Right. Yeah.
I got to go to Indy 500, and I also got to go to time trials. And so, I think we were there for like Coke or Pepsi sponsor.
Oh, sweet.
And so it was pretty sick.
Coke's legal too now?
Yeah, in Colorado.
Oh. Southern Colorado.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so
it's not the south of Colorado I hate too. It's
south in general. The track is 2.5 miles long, and so it's huge. So they fit a ton of people in there, and that's a big party. I was thinking, circling back to our tour to South that we're going to do, maybe Talladega could be a freaking sweet spot. I went to Talladega race, and you guys will love this. I have my assistant here.
Okay, Bud Light. Yeah, Doug's showing us a bottle of Bud Light. Oh, hey, Kaya.
Hi.
All right, buddy.
You're on the podcast.
You made it. That's hilarious. But we went to Talladega, and so it was a work function, and talk about some crazy cultures combining in Talladega, Alabama. So it was my team from Hawaii and the team from Mexico. Were the two regions of the company that qualified for a NASCAR event.
Wow.
So literally nobody knew about NASCAR, and everybody was like, we're going to Talladega? Like, what? Like, we're coming from Honolulu to go to Talladega.
Did any of your people speak English?
From Hawaii?
Well, Hawaii or Mexico.
We had some local brothers, right?
Okay, yeah.
A lot of pidgin and a lot of folks that stood out when we went to Talladega. It was awesome.
All they knew is there's food and alcohol, so they were in.
Oh my God.
And I remember my buddy Clay Silva, he's like, hey, cuz, we don't look alike, huh? These people look a little different. I'm like, bro, we are sticking out like a sore thumb.
Oh my God. Did the Oath Keepers come by and see you guys or anything like that?
It was weird because then we went and sat down in like seats from our like booth or whatever because we wanted to feel the cars and all that kind of stuff. And I saw a couple of dudes like, man, I'm just kind of checking around, making sure
what state
I'm gonna make it back.
What state is Talladega? Is that Florida?
Alabama. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, I think it's Alabama. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't know where I was exactly for like 3 days.
Was Ricky Bobby there? Or no, isn't that the guy from Talladega Nights? Isn't that?
You do know that if we put together this Southern tour, there's like maybe one state that we could get Mike to go to.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Maybe.
I'm not going on any Southern tour. So it's good to talk about
it. Dude, this would be hilarious. Like, I don't think we even have to do the Winnebago because I'm not sure if I want to tour around anywhere in a Winnebago with the three of us together. Or the two of you want to hang out.
I gotta be. Yeah, I'll have to be the fucking designated driver the whole time.
Well, we got to put you to work somehow.
We all got roles here, Mike. Let's do this. I can be. I can translate Southern. Dialect.
I thought you were for sure going to be in charge of beverages.
I can help with that as well.
All right.
Yeah. But no, it was an earth-shattering experience for quite a few. But to be honest, the one thing, like, the race was pretty sweet. Everybody got involved. I mean, we literally had Hawaiians, Mexicans, and these hillbillies from Talladega high-fiving and stuff at the finish. It was pretty sweet.
So do you, we're talking about the national anthem and sports and everything. Do you still think today, given everything that's gone on in the Trump era and how polarizing, he was and where we are in this country, do you think sports are still the great distraction from politics and life, or is it so intertwined now that it's a mess?
I think personally it's swung more to intertwine. Because
or is it sport by sport maybe?
Yeah, I mean, you watch an NBA thing and you've got Black Lives Matter, a commercial about Black Lives Matter. I was watching a baseball game and the San Francisco Giants are having these pretty sweet uniforms for Pride Day, where the sleeves are like rainbow colored and like the SF is rainbow on their hat and stuff. I'm like, dude, I would buy that. That's a freaking awesome jersey.
Right.
But you can see like these things that are just kind of slowly creeping in, which, I mean, for me, whatever. Let's take me out
what do they
to the
charge
ball
for
game.
one of those Pride jerseys?
I don't know. I'd be interested to see, but I'm sure they're selling them. Let's be honest, right? It's for marketing department or like, marketing and PR or HR got together and we decided this, and we're going to make $150,000 off of this one weekend.
No doubt.
Great.
So you guys really think that politics and sports has somehow become more intertwined because of what? Because of the Kaepernick stuff and the knee issues, taking the knee issues over the last couple of seasons?
Well, my kind of thinking about this is it all ties back to Trump, because Kaepernick was probably – there's a lot of issues, right? So that particular issue, I think, culminated in that's like the origins of the George Floyd thing and Black Lives Matter. And, Kaepernick was the guy who was like, look, and I was telling you guys all this and nobody listened to me, right? That was kind of his stance. Yeah. But this was on Trump's watch. And I remember Jerry Jones, he's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. And so, he was one of the first guys Trump would get out there and sound the alarm and say, hey, you tell those guys to stand for the national anthem. Or he said something like, I'd fire the son of a bitch, referring to any, in his mind, son of a bitch who doesn't stand for the anthem.
Right.
And I think Jerry Jones was one of the first team owners who said, yeah, we're going to make him do it. And I think a couple of teams followed suit. And this was a couple years after the Kaepernick saga began. And, he didn't have a team. He wasn't playing for anybody, not under contract. And then all hell broke loose. So it seems like from that moment on, it's kind of politics in general are intertwined with sports.
Have we seen football start back up then? Is it started already?
Well, we're off right now. Football
right now.
season is in the fall. But yeah, it was. We had football season, and for the
no
most
people.
Huh?
Yeah,
no people.
No people for the most part.
Okay.
And towards the very end of the season.
Oh, and then the Super Bowl, right? So
Yeah.
that was just a few months ago. So
Yeah.
when does football start back up then? That's when we're going to know.
September.
So I don't know. I hope not. I would hope that sports could just be sports, right? I mean, we don't need any politics in sports. I mean, if you want to protest something, that's your right, and I don't think Jerry Jones or certainly not Cheeto Voldemort has a position to tell them not to do it. So,
and then everybody tried to figure out, like, all right, well, we're going to, as a team, we're all going to take a knee, or we're going to stay in the locker room.
Is that what happened?
Well, sport by sport, team by team.
Yeah, didn't some of them not come out during the national
Some
anthem?
didn't come out. Some didn't play the national anthem. And I think sports leagues, I want to say it was an NFL team, but maybe it was NBA. I'm all confused.
Yeah.
Dallas Mavericks.
The Dallas Mavericks, what did they recently do? They're saying you have to play the national anthem?
So they actually didn't play the national anthem.
Did not play it.
Yeah, and Mark Cuban, obviously the owner of the Mavs, he's kind of he's great on Twitter, and is a billionaire and a smart dude, right? And
Shark
he's
Tank.
Like, yeah, that's right. And so one of his things, Josh and I saw him in the elevator in Sacramento for one of our annual meetings up there. But he was like, hey, this finally just made it to the news, but we're 3 weeks into the season and we haven't played it yet. Yeah. So it wasn't like they just stopped, right? Or the first game, somebody was like, hey, where's the national anthem?
Right.
They didn't do it for like the first, 12 games or something like that. And somebody ran with the story and it became national headlines.
So did the Texas governor, and I could have this totally wrong, but it would seem like something Texas would do. Did the governor of Texas recently say we're going to require that every team play the national anthem, or did I just make that up?
I haven't heard that. But it did.
Sounds believable, right?
Sounds like something that stupid asshole Abbott would say.
We could start in Dallas and then we drive over to Mississippi.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you know, sports in the military. So by extension, you've got you've got the flag, you got the national anthem, you've got. Do they do invocations at these things? Do they pray?
The races, they do.
At the races,
they do.
right?
Yeah, moment of silence.
And then there's color guards and shit at most of these things, and then at most of the pro sports, football games and things, there's some. Don't they have color guards?
Well,
and,
there's
our armed forces.
Is it God Bless America and then the national anthem? There's so many.
In baseball,
I never liked the national anthem at games because even on TV, I don't like it.
Yeah,
because
and all the military involvement is just a payday for the military. They all charge the teams to be there. So when you see Marine color guards or mixed armed force color guards or whatever the fuck they're doing, they're getting paid. They're not there.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that? And look, and especially if you're in the
wrong with it, but it's nothing wrong with getting rid of it either.
Yeah, but if you're in the Marine band, what's your other gig? What gig do you have? You need professional sports to hire you.
Marine
beat
band,
the drum and play the. If you're a Marine trumpeter, I'm sorry, I love the military, I love the Marines. Yeah, is there a Marine trumpeter? I don't even know. But if you play the trumpet, you're looking for gigs. You
know what the best part is? The Indy 500, before they start, they play taps. Right?
That's kind of morbid, isn't it?
So many people die at road racing events and have died at Indianapolis.
And will die in the fights in the parking lot afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I couldn't believe that when they played taps. I'm like, what?
Hop into this 235-mile-an-hour rocket around the corner. And by the way, we're going to serenade you with a little song here.
Is the Indy 500 going to be as fun and cool to watch when they're all driving electric race cars?
Oh, that's a good question. It's going to be quiet.
That would be hilarious.
I mean, it'll be a quick race, like 15-minute race. The battery's dead.
That's a great question. I don't know what the future of auto sports could be if it's not with internal combustion engines. I mean, to the best of my knowledge right now, they're not allowing any hybrids. And when I say hybrids, I'm not talking about a Prius, but like the BMW, with the gas engine, but the four-wheel electric assist is one of the fastest cars on the planet. But they're not. I don't think they're allowing any of that, right? So
one of my thoughts is too. I didn't like auto racing start from people like developing new vehicles and higher powered, and let's see how fast we can go. Let's line up these two cars and drag race.
I thought it started because of moonshine. People were.
Oh well, that was. Oh, you've seen those?
Yeah.
There's a good.
No, that you guys are getting this mixed up. The moonshine connection is the start of hot rodding. Not auto racing.
Oh, okay.
Auto racing started as soon as we had cars. I mean, there was an auto race between the very first cars, the ones that looked like the fuck did they look like?
The Model T?
Kind of looked like a carriage, and you sat up high up.
Yeah.
Right, and you had a stick that you controlled.
Like the Cinderella wagon.
Yeah, something like that. And
Doug knows what I'm talking about.
They were racing with that. But
got a daughter.
Yeah, moonshine, when they started taking cars from the 40s, and beefing up the engine so they could outrun the feds when they're and then they had big trunks so they could carry a bunch of liquor. So yeah, that's the history of hot rodding.
There's some Southern moonshining connections to NASCAR. Dale Jr. has a great podcast, and he's got like a little documentary
NASCAR,
that ties in NASCAR to the good old boys.
That makes sense. That makes sense. But the real reason for auto racing is to sell cars, right? Automotive makers put their cars in racing. Racing brought attention, and if they won races, they sold cars.
Which is ironic because NASCAR is, what is it? The National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing, right? It was supposed to be stock cars. It was actually cars that you could go buy, and now it's nothing like that.
Well, that one makes sense. It would have a connection to the hot rodding moonshining business because those were stock cars, right? So eventually, those guys, they made booze legal again, right? So no need to run from the feds. But I think they kept racing.
I'm shocked that auto racing is still a thing. I thought this 10 years ago in the Great Recession and the whole world was falling apart and gas prices were $5 a gallon. I'm like, how are these guys burning like 110 octane jet fuel?
You're not going to believe this, but by far and away, auto racing is the biggest sport in the world. Much bigger than
they say that.
Bigger than soccer.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, you say auto racing. That's all of auto racing.
All of auto racing
combined.
But just look at the Indianapolis 500, right? Doug just said it. How big is that track, Doug? 2.5 mile oval.
Yep.
You could put 1 million people around that track if you built all the way around it, right? They only have grandstands around a third of it or something. So there's 300,000 people there typically.
And think about that.
Once a year, that's 3 times what you get in the Coliseum.
That's that's IndyCar, right?
That's
so
IndyCar.
There's I call them leagues, but NASCAR is separate, and then IndyCar. But those guys,
there's Formula One.
But don't they compete internationally? So the Indy track is here in the U.S., but don't they have another race on the calendar that might be in another country?
Indianapolis is. Did you notice this, Doug? Indianapolis was. It's not confined to American, but the cars were either Hondas or Chevrolets. That's it. There were no other cars.
Really?
Yes. The Indy League, like Indy is more of the United States. They might have like Toronto or somewhere like that, but I want to say it's more North American. Obviously, Formula One is the international one. They're in Monaco, freaking Rome, and
right.
All these different places throughout.
What's the 24 Hours of Le Mans? That's a different class of car yet, right? It's not a stock car. It's not NASCAR, but
there's different levels that you'll have a Porsche running next to a stock car, running next to some other kind of car. There's different like
an open
levels.
class.
Open class, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and so there's all running, but yeah, there is so much and it was weird. I'm not gonna lie, it was predominantly, when we went to NASCAR, when I went to Indy as a kid, predominantly a white thing. But there's there's starting to be Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints, like these African American dudes are like, I got loot. Let me throw a car in there.
Yeah, didn't Michael Jordan start a NASCAR team?
Exactly. Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin are co-owners. I think mostly Michael Jordan is the backing money, and Denny Hamlin is the auto racing kind of backing or whatever. But
who was the black NASCAR driver?
Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I think he went to Jordan's team.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah.
He's the one that got the noose hung outside his.
Whatever happened with that story? One. Was that a legitimate deal?
Yeah, it was a legitimate noose.
Well,
who put it there?
So they're not. Yeah, I mean, it was terrible timing, and
Donald Trump.
I'm pretty sure it was a noose. But
I'm pretty sure Donald Trump still has Secret Service.
Yeah,
Mike always cautions me, to not cross certain lines because the Secret Service might come after me. But I think Trump still has Secret Service, my friend. Watch what you say.
There's a video. If you look hard, you can find it of Donald Trump sneaking out to that doorway there for Bubba and putting that noose up there.
I warned him.
Yeah, so.
There was people saying who knew, like they were like, well, is it a garage pull down?
Yeah,
or is it a noose? Like, what the hell?
Can I just say fuck no?
Where was it? At the track?
They don't make garage pull downs in the shape of hanging nooses. That's stupid.
Maybe it got tangled up. Maybe the guy with the leaf blower he tangled it up or something. I don't know.
We are so.
But there's a political example, right?
Who do they think did it?
Donald.
I don't think they ever found out.
I don't think they know.
Was it another driver or somebody from another team?
Restricted access area, right? So, not just some lunatic off
It used to be easier. See, I used to be a real big NASCAR fan.
Yeah.
And the California Speedway track, I think, is 2 miles around, something like that. But you could go, camp inside for the entire weekend, which was always such a blast.
Wow.
And you make a whole weekend of it, and it was fun, drinking and partying. And it used to be easier to sneak into where the driver's section was. And I remember one year, there was literally a chain link fence with a sign on the fence that had samples of all the credentials that you would need to get to the driver area. Literally said, to go past here, you need this. So one drunken night, I clipped the sign off the fence.
Made your own passes.
And I took it to Kinko's the next day, took an X-Acto knife, literally like I was making a fake passport, laminated it, and then went in there with a big telephoto lens camera and walked around the whole place.
Note to the FBI. I was not with Travis.
I think it's a little more secure now.
Well,
Wow.
I remember going to the Kentucky Derby back in the day before it before 9/11, and we were just drunk college kids, and we just wandered in the broadcasters areas at like 6 a.m. because we drove down from college in the middle of the night. We're like, yeah, let's go to the Derby, and then we're like, we're here. This thing doesn't start for like 6 hours. What are we doing? Let's go find some beer.
Go ride the horses.
Yeah.
We used to. There was 2 years in a row where we would just sneak right in, and then 9/11 happened, and the very next year, we start walking up, and I'm like, holy armed guards.
Wow.
Like literally, and like I walked up like, hey man, what's up? We usually come in here, and this dude is just sitting there, all military guy. He's like got a automatic rifle or something. He's like, yeah, no, this
Not happening.
Times have changed, buddy.
Wow.
Are you a gun guy?
I am not. I had never even shot a gun. I mean, my friends had little BB guns, and we would.
Oh, you're the guy on the freeway out here in Anaheim.
No, that wasn't me, but I did see
that.
Yeah, I did. That shit's crazy.
How does that make the fucking national news, right? How do you hear about some kid shooting out a handful of windows on the 91?
I was thinking
Colorado.
the 91 to go over to your area. I was like, wait, Uncle Mike's living over there.
Most of it happened directly north of my house.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the BB gun one,
Yeah.
and then there was another one where there was road rage where the guy shot out the window and killed a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
Was that also in the same area, right?
Yeah, that wasn't a BB gun.
I know,
Yeah,
but-
yeah, it is in the shopping center.
What the hell's going on out there?
Yeah, the kid's name was shit. It's plastered all over the place, Adrian or something like that.
Well, they got
Aiden.
a video image of the car,
Oh yeah.
and I think they identified 2 people in the car, but they must have fled to Mexico
so you're
or
seeing
something.
signs around my neighborhood. Who shot Aiden? Right, and so like restaurant, I've seen them like at restaurants. There's a pretty popular one close to my house in the one shopping center there, and they've got a big who shot Aiden poster up outside. Yeah, so yeah, but anyway, BB guns. Go ahead, tell us about your gun.
No, I wasn't a real gun person. My family never was big on guns, and we just I didn't actually shoot like a real gun. I don't think until I went on a company outing, and I was
We're not going to mention the company.
good solid outing that we had. They're actually pretty sweet to fire.
When you buy your house in Colorado, do they give you a gun? Like, do they give you the keys and they also give you a gun?
No, but his truck came with a gun rack.
Right?
I did say when my daughter was born, I was like, so do I have to buy a gun now? Because I have a daughter. Like, I don't even know if I'll buy bullets, but I just want some kid to come over and be like, hey, man, I'm taking your daughter out. And I'm like, yeah,
you want
right.
to rack the shotgun.
Yeah, like
Oh,
I
my
thought that
God.
was, but I think Kaya's a little smarter than that, but we'll see. But no, I'm not a big gun guy. I've never hunted. I just doesn't do it for me.
What about when you were sticking up liquor stores and stuff? Did you not use a gun for that?
All in the finger, buddy.
He did
It was all
the pocket gun. The finger.
pocket gun. Yep.
Yeah.
They're like, I think that's your finger. I'm like, all right, look, I'll just take 140 of malt liquor. That's fine, but I'm taking it.
What do you think about these fuckers shooting the windows out, though? Should we put those guys to death? Death by firing squad? You heard us talk about it.
I did. And, man, there's a lot of different takes on that, obviously. I think I always think about it. If, like, somebody did something like that to one of my family members, I'll be out there with you, Travis, and we'll be out there gassing them up or whatever.
Right.
Travis got the gun. You got to take him with you.
I got enough
Right.
for all of us on the road trip.
Go ahead and fire it, Travis. I'm going to watch.
Why do you think Doug says we need the Winnebago for the trip? Because I got to bring all the guns.
Oh my God.
We got a little trailer hitch in the back full of rifles.
I got it.
That's how they do it in the South, Mike. But I don't know, man. I think there's such a wide variety of something that's been trending recently. There's a dude who committed, there's these guys that committed some crime 20 years ago that are going to get executed, or, guy who
In
sold,
Colorado?
I just seen on Twitter, and there's some national ones. I don't know
I
exactly.
was going to say, I didn't think your Democrat governor was going to okay any kind of state
not here.
execution, huh?
No, but I mean, you see these folks who are like I don't want to say wrongly accused, but they're wrongly charged or whatever, wrongly sentenced. And you're like, wait, so this guy in 1988 sold an ounce of dope and he's still in prison?
Yeah, that's
and I can
horseshit.
go buy an ounce of dope at like literally a mile and a half away or whatever, the 500 dispensaries in the state of Colorado. And this guy's been in jail for 20
How come that's
years?
not a thing? How come exactly what you just said, if we have states that have overhauled their drug laws and, you know, basically you take a crime that the guy is in prison for and that same thing is legal today, why don't you just, what is it, commute? Is that what it's called? Commute all their sentences? How come that's not a conversation?
I think because, weed's still not legal, right? It's technically
Federally.
It's legal there.
federally-
That's a whole other question we talk a lot about on the podcast. It's like states' rights versus what the feds are doing. I mean, you can't have it both ways. Somebody fucking pick. It's either the states or the feds. Somebody pick, and let's live with that.
When every state legalizes marijuana, then the feds will come around. Until then, I don't think so. And then,
Yeah.
and
And when every state legalizes voter suppression, what will the feds do?
well, they're gonna pass the John Lewis. You know what? Hey, we were talking about this. I don't know. Have you heard the episode where we talked about? I think we called it HR1 and HR4 or something.
HR block is what we call it.
H&R block.
I've heard all of them.
It's
so-
not HR. It's not.
You
house.
call- you
that was
said
my
H.
fault. That's what I thought.
You
I
made
heard.
me. I Googled
Yeah.
HR1 and
Yeah.
HR4, and I read them.
Did you?
Yes.
Well, then there must be. That must be the congressional version of it. But there are Senate bills that are SB 1 and SB 4, and those are the ones that.
That's a whole other thing that's so dumb. Can't we just get rid of the House already? Let's have one body, figure it out.
Get rid of the Senate, not the House.
Oh. All right.
And then sure enough, here we are governing ourselves again.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Wait, what the hell was I going to say?
HR was HR1.
Anyway, so that conversation was a little factually off. I mean, basically, I think what you were talking about was right, and they are similar. The Senate Bill 2 or HR 4, whatever the hell we call it, or Senate Bill 4, is the John Lewis, a reinstatement of the Voting Rights Act, and that I think that one's probably got a chance. So that's that'll be a federal law, and that will change. That will change a lot of these state laws that are being passed.
If a bill, for a point of clarity, if a bill originates in the House, doesn't the Senate have to agree to it or write their own bill?
Right.
But if it originates in the Senate, does it go the other way?
There'll be a version. You'll have the House bill, then there'll be a Senate. It'll pass in the House. They'll send it to the Senate. The Senate will have their own bill. If they virtually copy the House bill, then it passes. That's a done deal. It goes to the president. If they pass a different bill or make changes, the Senate, then it goes back to the House and they do something called, they conference the bill or something like that.
What about the other way around? If a bill originates in the Senate,
I think same thing. It has to
Let's
go to the House. Yeah. I think
such a waste of time.
No. Wouldn't it be easier if you just had a dictator just making
Kind of,
laws?
right?
Save the time. Save
That's
the
what I
money.
But
think.
then
Get on.
would that be a dictator of each state or a dictator federally?
Hey, who do you think, Doug, in your opinion, who is the world's greatest dictator?
Trick question, man. Don't answer that.
How many countries have you lived in?
I've only lived in 2 countries, but
Get out of here.
I do.
Japan
Yeah.
and America?
That's it.
You never
Yeah.
lived in Korea?
No.
You've
Sarah
been-
and I met in
Oh,
Tokyo.
Oh, that's right.
How many years were you in Japan?
3.
Hey, I got a Netflix. No, I think it's oh man, maybe it's HBO. I got a show.
He
for
never
you.
knows.
Search your streaming capability for Tokyo Vampire Hotel.
Okay.
10 episodes of the weirdest Japanese vampire shit you've ever watched.
Dude, you'd be amazed at
Oh,
what
no.
I've seen.
Well,
Like,
no, please don't tell me. I don't want to. I won't be able to mentally see some of it. So.
well, yeah. Well, there's I think talking about like living in different countries and stuff like that. There's a lot that for me that I pull from there, I guess, because obviously living in a different country, being married to someone from a different country.
Yet again, a different country.
Yeah, right. And trying to be as diverse as I could be growing up. My brain is mush, and trying to play the middle ground or who's right or who's wrong. But I definitely think there's a lot of things from other countries that we can bring to the United States, dictatorship probably not being one of them.
Yeah, I think you're leaning more toward bringing their women from other countries.
Well, hey,
Mike knows a guy who brings underage children. What's his name?
Matt Gates.
Matt Gates.
Oh, that guy's a piece of work, huh?
Isn't he a Colorado state senator? No, he's from somewhere else.
It's from Ohio.
Ohio?
I don't know.
Is he still like not apprehended? Like, how is this guy like out doing?
Because we like to say on the podcast we're not experts on anything, and I don't know, and I don't think Mike even knows because I always ask him, did this guy actually do anything, or is he just the friend of the pedo? We don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he is the friend of the pedo.
We know that
for sure.
But is he a pederast himself?
Him and the pedo
wasn't making great decisions.
Right.
Him and the pedo and 2 underage girls went to Bermuda together. So I'm sure that was platonic. Not.
What about when Bill Gates was hanging out with Epstein and Bill Clinton? Epstein in the jet. You think that was all platonic and above board?
The what about philosophy?
Yeah. He hates it whenever I go and I find somebody on the left and I fucking eviserate.
Because is that what he did? Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I think you guys are funny because so many times I'm listening to the podcast and I'm like, I wonder where this is going to go. Or, wait, is Travis trying to push Mike? Is Mike going to? And I love it. And
it doesn't take much
highly
these days.
entertaining. No, but I think there's so much madness out in the world that either way, right? Like, okay, so Gates did this with Epstein, but we can find 20 more people that did this with Gates.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's what I always say about this podcast is it's a conversation that I think people are having every day, multiple times a day with friends, with family, at work, and we can come out of it on the other side because we're friends.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm going to stand up for Mike and I'm going to defend him. And then when we have fun on the podcast, I'm going to challenge him and bash him at times, and it's fun.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, there's not shows. I have to turn certain shows off, even back to the sports radio, like guys arguing about like, well, they should kneel and they shouldn't kneel. And I'm like, click. I don't, not for me, man. Like, I don't really tell me what the score is, homie.
It just gets to be, even when I think both, I don't know about you, Travis, but I watch a lot of political shows where, I don't know, it's been so long now where it's all kind of done like we're doing this one here, where it's just heads and screens that are in different places. They're not even in the same room. So talking
all because of fake COVID.
You feel free to laugh out loud because I think it's important for the audience to hear us laugh when Travis, because he's pretty funny. So
I still call it the Covida. Like literally on my freaking text messaging, if I type in COV, it goes to Covida.
What were we on the sales?
We were on some kind of work meeting, and he might call it COVID.
I was on the sales call. We're having a virtual sales meeting, which is something I hope to never fucking see again. And I talking on my presentation, and I referred to the COVID as the Covida. I didn't even think twice about it. Nobody laughed or said anything. And then Travis comes back the next day. Oh my God, you said the Covida on the sales.
That was awesome.
And I'm on a meeting today with. I was on a phone call yesterday with our buddy Matt, and so
shout out to Matty.
Yeah, hey Matt, and so Matt and my boss and his boss and some other people were on the call, and I'm like, hey Matt, I'll help you see those customers. He's like, hey, thanks Uncle Mike, appreciate it. And everybody starts laughing. And I'm like, okay, well, it's okay for me. It's so I think they get a kick out of it. So, especially someone who shall remain nameless right now.
Hey, go back to this international dictator thing. I won't pressure you to answer the question, but I am curious. I mean, somebody who's lived abroad, and I bring up a lot on the podcast and jokingly, maybe part of the time, about this country. Has it outgrown the great experiment? The democracy. Are we too big, which I often claim that we are, and too diverse to really be governed under one set of ideas and one philosophy? So you've lived abroad, you've got a lot of experiences, you have friends and family elsewhere. Do you think there's another country, and I'm being serious now, do you think there's another place that can rival the good old US of A for the best country in the world, where ideas can still happen and we can still have the best quality of life in a country like this?
I mean, it's a fun thing to think about. And obviously it's something that, Sarah and I talk about. And, do we want to live in the United States forever? Do we want to retire somewhere else? That's an option. I
what
think,
about South Korea?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's an option. South Korea is a freaking amazing place, dude.
I hear
It's beautiful. I want to go there.
I hear they have good 5G, the best.
It's coming out of like every wall. It's crazy. Having visited there a lot and spent a good amount of time there, and I love it. Like, I almost, for me, Asia's just a great spot. There's a lot of old school kind of Buddhist mentalities and things like that are super fun. And but they have a great mix of the new, like I remember. So when I moved to Japan, mind you, couldn't speak Japanese. I basically had a friend that got me an interview, and a month later I was in the biggest freaking train station in the world. And I think I had sushi maybe once and didn't like it. Like, that's about as close to Japan as
because you
was.
eat like tater tots and French fries for dinner.
I try to. Yes, absolutely.
Chicken fingers.
Those are the best chicken fingers ever.
Hey! I want you to keep your place in the story, but I want to mention a place to you on Oahu called Teddy's Bigger Burgers.
Oh yeah,
right, where you can get tater tots instead of fries. Right? Onion rings. You want tater tots, onion rings, or fries? So
Teddy's is sweet.
Right?
Oh hell yeah,
he knows
okay.
it.
Yeah, totally know it.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, when I moved, I just needed to get the hell out of Ohio. I just, not for any reason other than myself. Like, I wasn't running from the law or anything. I know that's where Travis.
How old were you when you left?
Gosh, I don't even remember.
6 years old. You told me 6.
Yeah, 6 in spirit. I had graduated college and did a out of college job for about a year and a half. And then
he was 29.
Yeah, 42. 20, 25, 26, 26, something like that.
That's
so I literally found myself in the middle of this train station, and people are just, it's downtown Tokyo. Like, people are going left and right.
Wow.
And just standing there going, holy shit, where the fuck am I?
You didn't know anybody there?
I had one buddy there. My
Wow.
buddy, Adam Graham. God bless him. He's a freaking
He went there
genius.
for work or what?
Yeah, he was over there working ahead of time, and everybody thought he was cuckoo and crazy. And then I was looking to just get out of that first job out of college, kind of burnout. And I had lived in Dayton, Ohio my entire life. Everything
Wow.
was super easy. And I was like, I just got to try something new.
Wow.
Where can I pick? Oh, let's pick halfway around the world. That's easy. I could have moved to like Chicago, right?
Right.
And been like, oh, this is interesting.
Good for you, though.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Stupid is as stupid does, or whatever you want to say. But it was fantastic.
Did you teach English? Is that why you moved there? Is that the job you had?
Yeah. But I mean, like that first, so there was day 2 when I kind of just woke up after traveling all
Where
day,
am I?
being in this new place. Where am I? And I had to go to the city center to get my Gaijin card, right? It's your green card, your foreigner card.
Gaijin.
And and so I'm going there.
That's Japanese for wetback, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. Fluency, I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm walking, and there's this beautiful shrine in Iruma where I was going for the county office or whatever. And like literally like across like a half of alleyway is a McDonald's. And so there's a lady in her kimono coming out of McDonald's with like one little fry bag, which we would call a fry bag, but I think it was lunch, breakfast, and dinner for her. But she's walking out in her kimono, and I'm like blown. I'm like, wow, dude, like Buddhist shrine right here, like I'm in a foreign country, McDonald's, like wow. It's literally, for me, it's like the best of all, worlds, kind of.
So did you grow to like Asia just from living in Japan? I mean, you obviously didn't know much about it when you moved there, right?
No, yeah. And here's a funny story. The very first place I lived, we were there. So it's me, this dude from Australia, other dude from Canada. It's three of us. And we're there, and they're like, yeah. They keep telling us we're going to move because the neighbors don't like us here. And I'm like, so do you guys like party all the time? No, they were big dorks, right? I'm like, how the fuck do you like, how are you getting complaints from the neighbors? Well, it's because they were white dudes.
Yeah.
And I went out at the time, I smoked cigarettes, and I went out to have a cigarette. I see the neighbor out there, and I'm like, yeah, I'll go out. He's smoking a cigarette. I'll smoke a cigarette. I'm like, this is how people get to know each other, right? Especially, the smoker club.
Right.
I was like, maybe I'm going to get in. So I go out there. I'm like, konnichiwa. And Mr. Sato or whatever next door kind of looked at me and just was like shaking his head a little. And I'm like, oh.
Like, how dare you talk to me?
I'm like, damn, I said it wrong. I've been practicing that damn word for like 2 weeks.
Konnichiwa.
I'm thinking, what the hell? And I'm like, oh, hey, man.
Yeah.
And he takes his cigarette, takes the longest drag out of it to where it's like almost down, and he literally just flicks it at me.
Nice.
And I'm like, the fuck?
Does that mean you're in the club or not?
I was like, smokers club in Japan is a lot different than the one in America. But I was like,
did you kick him in the balls or what?
I was like, man, I'm about to beat this dude's ass. And then I was like, oh shit, he probably knows karate. Like shit.
Regular Bruce Lee over there.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was like my first day. And I told my buddy about that. He's like, you've been here 24 hours and you're causing a race war already? Like, dude, I don't know what's going on. But I mean, long story short is I've seen that ass. I felt that before,
right.
And I don't know.
That's a pretty xenophobic.
How'd you break through though? I mean, this was before smartphones. You couldn't do instant translation on your phone to say something. So what did it take you learning some words before you felt like you could break through?
I was there about a month or so, and I was super hungover, and I went to have like breakfast on my day off, and I thought I ordered some chicken and rice and stuff, and I ordered some raw fish and rice, and
that'll cure a hangover.
I was like, oh God, no, this is not going to work. And I was like, time to learn the language a little bit. And that was literally the day where I was like, I need friends to help me study. And I met friends that we would kind of trade off my English skills for their Japanese skills. And so that's how that all kind of came through.
So do you like sushi now? Or are you still
love it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I love it.
Bit of an acquired taste, huh? Oh, mind over matter, as Debbie's mom likes to say. Mind over matter.
It's been great. I went to Korea, and I remember one of the first times I went there, my father-in-law kept being like, try this. And Sarah's like, nah, you don't have to eat everything. And I'm like, nah, of course I do. I'm trying to be a good son-in-law.
Right.
And finally we get to this one thing. It looks like roly-polies in like butter sauce. And I'm like,
yeah, it was.
Hell no.
Probably was roly-polies.
She goes, I don't eat that. And I'm like, I got to try it. But he respected that, we clanked a couple beers and some soju. And I mean,
so what do you think about all this Asian hate that's going on now? I mean, like the story that you just told, it wasn't to the level of violence, even though somebody threw a cigarette butt at you. But I mean, did it ever arise to that occasion there? I mean, did you ever get to that level where there was physical violence and against him or your other comrades or?
No, to be honest, douchebags are douchebags, right? And so we had like this one douchebag from England that thought he was a badass, and he went around and he would like just mess up the stores and like cause. He was I guess he was 21, 22.
The ugly American.
Well, and that's the thing, though. He was British, and that's the thing. Oh. Over there, though, it's like, oh, fucking American, and I'm like, hey, he's from England. He's an idiot.
Yeah, they're the ones responsible for fucking up this whole planet.
Baka. And so, but, there was some of that, and people would get pissed, and people would not. I never saw any violence or anything like that, but.
Should have told him he was the white devil, not you.
Yeah, I mean, there was some cool times about being from a different country, right. And when I was over there too, English was really skyrocketing. So a lot of schools were requiring it, a lot of businesses were requiring it. So I got to
pretty
interact with
xenophobic society, though, huh? I mean, they really do think they're better than everybody else. They really don't like people from other countries. They don't want you to live there. Come and visit, spend your money. I'm sure that's okay, but they're not looking for you to move there. Right?
Well, I got into it because there's a younger crowd, right? Especially in Tokyo. And there's like these punk kind of Japanese dudes. And there's, when you go down to the beaches, there's like this surfer community that's starting to form. And the one thing, I mean, they all are speaking English because they're also traveling outside of Japan. And so you're seeing a lot of that, but you're absolutely right. And some of the older generations are kind of fearing like, well, we don't need to be like America, or we don't need to be Western, you know? But that's why I see it, you know, in LA, we had our Buddhist temple that we would go to every New Year right in Little Tokyo. And that was like a nice thing for us because, you know, we could, you know, celebrate New Year's and be a family together and do that kind of stuff. We don't have that here in Colorado yet. I mean, there's no Buddhist temples.
There's no Buddhist
Start
temple.
one.
Yeah. Not around the corner, like there was in LA. So we've lived at different, you know, stages of this.
You know that Debbie and I were married in Oahu on the beach in a gazebo by a Hongaiji Buddhist bishop. Right, her family's kind of connected with the Buddhist church there. And so the guy was old when we got married in 92, and we just found out that he just passed away recently this year.
Wow.
So.
That's good luck.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Some of that's got to pass down to you.
Well, I mean, we've been married forever, so yes, pretty good luck. It rained on us a little that day too, which is
even better. Yeah, that is. Did you have a black cat too, or
a black cat?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Travis, you travel internationally. I mean, obviously, you know, and Mike, you've got, you know, your international family ties.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? The funny part about that is I have been fully 3,000 miles away from here more times than I can even remember, right? And every time I do that, I'm as far away from all the rest of the people on this planet as I can possibly get, right? Hawaii is the most desolate spot on the globe. It's far. There's no one place that's farther away from all the other places than Hawaii, right? You might go out into the middle of the Gobi Desert or something, feel like you're isolated, and it's just the weirdest thing because Hawaii is so civilized. But when you're sitting on a beach where there's no civilization around you, and you think about it, and I'm like, I'm as far away from you motherfuckers as I can get.
And he still finds time to start trouble.
And I still start trouble there.
That was a great story, too. I was like, oh, I know where this is going.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I'm not going back. I mean, I'm hoping all that shit is done by the time I go back. Going back in January. Going to go back. Our anniversary is January 4th, so we're going to go back and stay in Oahu at the Royal, and then go to dinner at. We got married at the time it was the Hilton Kahala Hilton. It's the Kahala Mandarin or something now, right?
Yeah, my mom used to live over in that area.
Yeah, it's a nice area. So they got the dolphins and all that shit there in their pools on the ground. So we just want to go there and have our anniversary dinner at the hotel where we got married. We'll be able to see the gazebo. It's still out there. So
10th Avenue, Kaimuki, man. That's where I stayed for like the first almost year that I was in.
Oh yeah, 10th Avenue, Kaimuki.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
So what are your Japanese friends saying about? Do you still keep in touch with people? Are they asking you about the state of affairs in this country?
Yeah, it's funny because you know, any international media outlet is going to depict things the way they want to depict it, right? The same as you know, you guys got your Foxes and your CNNs, whatever here domestically, but so it's interesting over there. Like we got a call and you know, it was like, I heard all the Asians are getting beaten up all over the place. Well, not necessarily, you know. Here in Colorado, the Westminster chief of police, when all that shit started happening, he drew a line in the sand. And he's like, we don't fuck around with that, guys. Like, that's not going to happen here. The H Mart is over there. There's a big Asian community over there. He's like, don't sweat it. We're not going to fuck around with this. And But on the same day, you got somebody in New York getting beat up on a subway, some crazy dude hitting a old woman.
It seems like every day there's another story out of New York.
It's getting weird. Yeah, New York, San Francisco, I've heard.
L.A. too. Right?
Is L.A. too?
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean, I think that the feeling among the left-wing media, which are my peeps, right? I think the feeling for them is that there's some statistics out there that are verifying that attacks against Asian people, one way or the other, have increased some phenomenal amount. Now, remember, if a year ago there were 4 documented attacks against Asians, and this year there were 8, it's a, what is that, 100% increase? Right.
Well, isn't that typical of the left-wing media with everything from COVID to everything they do, they fuck up and blow out of proportion?
Well, I have tried to discuss this a little bit with the family, and I do feel some mixed feeling about it. I think that frankly, people in my family, their feelings are hurt, right? I think their feelings are just hurt by this being a thing, right? I don't know that any of them have had any experience, with it at all. But to hear about it, so I mean, where's the real truth? Do I think there's some? I mean, I'm sad to hear that in other countries, or maybe your relatives in South Korea or something, are like, "Oh, we're hearing all the Asian people are being beat up in America." That's so sad, and I think that's so. I mean, even in, was it Georgia, where the guy went around to several different massage parlors and killed all the Asian workers in them, the female Asian workers, but then he also killed a couple of white people along the way too. So, and they're making that, I'm like, and I don't know, and it's not that important, but for me, I'm like, so is this guy just, I mean, he was a customer at every one.
He gunned them down, right?
Right. I mean, he was a customer at all 3 of these places, right? And
were these like handy places or what?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, hey, listen, since there were so many dead people at each one of them, nobody was really saying, hey, this is the full release, happy ending, massage parlor thing. So everybody that died was the saint. Oh, my mother worked 26 hours a day, and ever since she came here from Hong Kong or whatever. And I think that the point is that I just don't know.
So are you saying it's not really a thing?
I think to some degree, I think this is something that the media has jumped on and want to blame Trump for it. And because, listen, there's no doubt about this, right? Trump spent a good part of all of last year, from the first day we heard the word COVID-19, or actually the first day we heard about unidentified a Chinese pneumonia, right?
Flu or whatever,
yeah, he's been calling it the Chinese flu or the China flu or whatever.
Kung flu is my favorite.
Yeah, Kung flu. Every racist fucking diatribe thing he could come up with. So,
well, I'm glad you brought that. There's no doubt about that part of it, but
but I don't know that that's causing some
right. And now he's been gone for almost half a year, and
but I think to be honest, sorry to interrupt, but I'm like,
going for it.
That's kind of when we go back to the question of who did I vote for and why. The guy's a dick, and he was planting certain things. And I tend to think we don't have the smartest population in the world. And we've got a lot of dumbasses out there that when they listen to stupid shit, they start to mimic it, and they start to make it their own, and they start to think that that's the cool thing. And that's where I see some of these things going. In the Asian hate one is something that, maybe by him downgrading or demeaning, calling it the Asian flu or this or that, like, it's derogatory and it's demeaning. And that's when people listen to that, that's hurtful and that's hateful. And if they don't know that it's hurtful and hateful, they start to mimic it.
Don't you think that, and I brought this up, and Mike always sees it as voter suppression, but don't you think that we should test people's knowledge before they're able to vote? Like, just check out your IQ to make sure that you're competent.
All right, Doug, hang on for a second, Doug. I know you want to respond to that.
No, right? Go ahead. Go for it.
But let me just say a couple things. We're not going to test people. We're not going to make them guess how many fucking jelly beans are in a jar. We're not going to make them pay to vote.
This is what you get then if you don't.
None of that shit is coming back. Go ahead, Doug.
No, I just think, we look at certain things and we're like, God bless America. Like we ran away from whatever we were, people from Europe came here or wherever, and took over Native America. There's such a weird history with how the United States has come. And by the way, we're such a baby considered amongst all these other, formalized like countries and things like that. But to change, like to add that, like to me, if I was a dumbass, I would be like, well, that's voter suppression. Like just because I'm
But if you're so dumb, you wouldn't even figure it out. You'd be like, well, guess I can't vote. They must be right about something.
Doug, you said something that's now that makes me think. When people ask me how come I only go to Hawaii, why don't I go to Europe? I mean, obviously, I'm of European descent, one way or the other. Probably European prison people, but one way or the other. And I'm like, listen, we fought a fucking war to get away from those guys. I'm not going there now. Fuck it.
You afraid they won't let you come back?
Yeah, I'm afraid there's nothing there I want to see. I'm trying to think I've seen aerial shots of London. I'm pretty well done.
You've seen James Bond. You know where MI6 is. You don't need to go there.
I've seen Stonehenge on TV. What's left, right?
Well, I think too, and Travis, you can maybe comment on this by going to some different countries, but for me, like the touristy stuff, like I will check it off real quick, right? I remember even after high school, I got to go to Europe, and my buddies and I were more stoked that we could legally drink there. Mm-hmm. And so, we got our picture of the Leaning Tower.
That's why I went to Colorado. That's why I went to Colorado. Isn't that where the Colorado River is? What's the?
It's one of the places is.
Where's Bullhead?
Yeah, kind of big.
I don't know. Somewhere I went when I was 19. On the other side of the river, you could drink, so that's why I went there. Right.
Yeah, and so like we went through.
Probably was Bullhead and then Laughlin on the other side.
Well, we go all the way to the Colorado River, right? And I spend the whole 2 days in the back of a liquor store that had a pool table and a jukebox, listening to the 2 Lynyrd Skynyrd songs on there and drinking beers because I could.
And you were probably in heaven.
I loved it. It was like, let's get a boat. No, fuck off. Let's play another game of pool.
Yeah, play some Freebird, brother.
Yeah, go 1,000 times, man.
No, I think I don't know if I've definitely had those days, even internationally traveling, where I'm like, frick, dude, I was in this city and all I met was this crazy bartender, like whatever. But those experiences to me were amazing. Like, being in Europe, and then just like I used to have my little dive bars that I would go to and throw darts in like the little neighborhood of in Tokyo. And I got to know the people in the community, and I kind of stuck out, and they would see me at the supermarket on like a Tuesday night. And they're like, Douglas, son, hey.
Are you tall in Japan?
I am average in Japan. That's how short I am. I had a couple of buddies that they started to feel awkward, right? Like these big Aussie, like blokes of mine, like these guys, they'd be like, dude, like I don't even fit anywhere here. And I'm like, this is perfect for me. Like,
how tall are everywhere. How tall are you, Doug? I'm just trying to figure out if I know my own height. We're about the same height, huh?
I think 5'6", 5'5", something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're about the same. I think you're probably just a little taller.
I'm supposed to be like 5'7", and somehow I came to the conclusion I was 5'9".
Maybe you were at one point.
I don't know. I'm wondering. I mean, I know you're supposed to shrink, but not like multiple inches, right? And I'm only 64, so I have a doctor's scale at home. The kind with the balance weights and all that. And so it's got the height measure, right? And so the other day I put myself on it. And I'm like, this thing's broken. I'm not supposed to.
No, I think it's working. You're supposed to get shorter.
2 inches, I'm going to be a fucking midget by the time.
If you end up, kind of creaking more and more, will you walk around with a cane?
Yes.
Because that would be a cool look for you. Pinky ring and a cane.
Yeah, I'm putting either a gun in the cane, a one-shot gun in the cane. Go ahead, Doug. I'm sorry.
No, I don't even know where I was going with that. But I just think some of those international experiences don't have to be like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, sweet, great, whatever.
Right.
Like,
I think
go experience like a normal neighborhood and hang out.
Exactly. Yeah, my idol was always Anthony Bourdain. I love that dude, love his show. And I was on a trip. When he died, I was in where was I? I think it was in the London Gatwick Airport. When I saw that on my phone, I was devastated. But he said something that always kind of stood out to me, which is be a traveler, not a tourist. And I don't do group tours. I don't pre-plan a trip. Oftentimes I don't even know, past the next day what hotel I'm going to stay in, just kind of change it on the fly. If you want to stay somewhere longer, stay.
That's a little dicey. the hotel thing's a little chancy for me, but the rest of it sounds right.
You know what? You can end up, on a sidewalk with a rock pillow somewhere, right?
No.
At the back of a dive bar.
Not me.
With that Freebird playing in the background.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But it is interesting, international news, because I was same as you. I'd get people call me from, other places and ask, what's going on in the United States, whether it was Trump related or COVID or anything. It's always just the worst part of America is what people hear.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole Asian hate thing, has that frightened Saran and Kaya, or do they feel safe there? Are they pissed about it? Are their feelings hurt like I perceive my family's feelings to be hurt?
I think, it's a great question. Anybody that messes with them is going to get some Taekwondo shit. So I don't think they're like scared,
Okay.
right? Like they're not like physically like, oh man, somebody's going to hurt me. But Saran's probably going to yell at me for telling you this, but I wouldn't mess with her either because she re-upped her little zapper or whatever. But it was because like she didn't have that before.
What do you mean re-upped it?
Like she got a new zapper or whatever.
I thought you meant you have to have a permit for it or something.
No. But she does. She has a little self-defense thing now. And
but
it's
she
triggered.
She should anyway, even if she's, the Korean ethnicity aside, right?
Yeah, I mean, just being a lady and just being,
I don't know. In this society, in this world, I'm not sure how any pretty woman doesn't carry some kind of self-defense.
You have to carry something.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's just more normal these days, right? Like,
yeah. But if this was a motivation, hearing all this on the news, that would be understandable, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about Kaya?
And I think too, it's Kaya carries a 9
Nice.
in her.
Sweet.
She's just got her Taekwondo skills.
Oh wait, there she is in the background playing Mumley Peg. Wow,
she did. So she had a great year with her online classes and everything. Yeah, 3rd grade. She did fantastic. Had a wonderful teacher. We've been super blessed with like awesome teachers. And the online class was kind of weird. Obviously, some kids get it and some kids don't.
Right.
So that makes it tough. But literally just the last part of the school year, she had a little incident, the first little incident that we've had. And these are, 8 and 9-year-old kids. And, they were, playing favorites. Oh, she's my best friend, but no, she used to be your best friend. It was one of those kind of little things. Well, the one girl got kind of butthurt, and somehow they were talking about some things on like a side Zoom or whatever. And the girl said something about, well, Jesus this, or, Jesus, something Christian this or something. And Kyle was kind of like, well, I'm actually Buddhist, so I don't really know too much about Jesus. And this girl was like, what? Like, you don't know about Jesus? Like, why wouldn't you? Jesus is the reason, or whatever the hell. It was something.
Jesus is the reason.
Is this a Christian school?
No, it's a public school. And so, she basically was like,
this ain't California.
Like, yeah, well, I think she started to realize a little bit. Yeah. But she kind of was like, look, I don't think so.
But that's a thing there. People believe in magic and all that.
Right. So, but then the interesting part that she kind of got offended at too, the girl goes, oh, are you like Japanese or something? And she's like, no, I'm not. I'm Korean. I'm Korean American, I'm Asian American, whatever. And this poor girl she just didn't know. She just hasn't been exposed to those types of things. And she kind of sounded like a butthead. But then Kaya actually referenced it to the teacher, and the teacher heard religion, race, and took that. And literally the next day they had like a little meeting. The vice principal and all these people were involved. Of like, they didn't want it to be like this huge race or religion thing.
Wow!
And but this was all over Zoom.
Yeah.
Even when the vice principal came in, it was on Zoom.
Yep. So, Kaya was like, yeah, this girl's kind of a dumbass. So I don't really,
that's the way she should look at it.
Too much offense to it or anything. Right. But
so what's your sense? Do you think that is the majority of the thinking of the class, or that one girl in particular?
Definitely one girl in particular. I think, out of the 20 kids, I would say There's probably only two or three of Asian descent. There's probably two, maybe African American, and the rest are what I would call haole, or white folks. And everybody's been super engaging with her, and even ask her, hey, you look a little different, and very positive.
Are you supposed to say that though? I mean, even though if you're being nice, hey, you look a little different. Can we help you in any way?
I don't think
you're supposed to.
No, here's what I know from looking at here's what I know from looking at TikTok or Instagram. You see a lot of stuff posted about how white people, non-Asians, want to just. I mean, in this day and age, you would think not, right? But it's like, what kind of Asian are you? Are you Chinese? I mean, automatically, right? Are you Chinese? So, and so this one happened to ask her if she was Japanese, right? I mean, why would you do that?
But don't we blame the parents for that? Well, she's 8 or 9. She doesn't.
That's a lack of upbringing, right? That's a lack of saying, hey, and it doesn't need to be specific to your any encounter you have with Asian friends or something in school. Hey, anybody that's not obviously, in the Ku Klux Klan with you, there's better ways to go ahead and if you got questions, I think that's okay. But it's how you ask it, right? Which indicates where you're coming from and what kind of stupid shit and then, hey, be religious. I mean, Travis hates you if you're religious, but he's rolling his eyes right now. But look, I mean, be religious. That's okay. But the reaction, you don't know Jesus? I mean, it's so typical of a big part of Christian upbringing that they're so.
I was born and raised
so unaware of the fact that most people in the world are not Christian.
In their house, their Jesus is probably a white dude.
It's a white guy. He's got his picture on the wall. He's hanging on a cross.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of imagery, right?
I think one of the funny things I don't think I've ever told you guys, but like I was born and raised, Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, Catholic university, even. But when I was an altar boy,
how's your asshole?
And New York, I was like, tee it up for Travis here.
Here's a message. I'd like to send a message to the Pope. That was Travis, not me. Go ahead.
Travis,
he teed it up.
So the funniest thing, I was an altar boy, and I used to cut my own hair, and dude, I totally botched it, and I ended up with a mohawk, right? And so I showed up to serve mass with a freaking mohawk, and they were like,
"That's good."
And I'm like, "Sweet, am I out of this thing? Like, great. I didn't want to be here in the first place.
Can I go home? I'm gonna cut my fucking hair a long time ago.
I can get a tattoo on my head if I could get out of this." But,
oh my god.
But yeah,
in an upbringing like that, though, I mean, obviously you've turned out beyond normal. I mean, you're this, kind of hip guy. You're a deep thinker. You can have conversations. You see the world for what it is and embrace diversity and all this stuff. But was that the norm for you in your upbringing? I mean, was that kind of later in life for you?
Did your cousins turn out like that?
I'd say my dad instilled that in us, and my mom was definitely very open to different people, I guess. We always had folks coming in that were different. We had exchange students from Brazil come and stay with us, we had these different things. A lot of it actually was through the church, to be honest. There was certain things because my mom was very involved. My dad was like an usher in part of the school and things like that.
Is your mom still a practicing Catholic?
100%. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And by the way,
and she listens to the show.
Yeah, I was going to say we should say hi to Doug's mom. Hi, Doug's mom. Thanks for listening. He's finally.
And my comments were meant as a joke.
Yeah, you're going to catch.
We are listed in the comedy section.
We are probably talking to ourselves right now. She laughed at that thing about Doug's fanny.
No, I think a lot of that obviously came from them, and just trusting people and treating people with respect all came from them. I think for me, kind of. I'm not going to lie. I don't know exactly where, but you get to that point in your life, and I think Uncle Mike and Travis, you both have mentioned, times where you kind of wanted to rebel a little bit, listen to music, or not do this, or do this because you're not supposed to, kind of thing. And I definitely
That's why
went through
I do everything. That was the basis of every decision
You
I
will
made.
get out of this pool.
Yeah.
You will go wait in that center line.
That was the basis of every decision from 6 years old till 64.
Well, and I have to say, I probably had to learn it more, Mike. It was probably more, natural for you. But I got to a point where I was like, this shit just doesn't make sense. Like, I'm going to ask why.
And
then
so
when people
could you have those conversations in your household where you were
About religion?
Yeah, because I'm going back to the story about this girl in your daughter's class, and I'm just because I see a little bit of that too. And my kids are a little bit younger than your daughter, but it happens at such an early age where there's already bullying, there's already just bullshit because these little kids, they don't know anything, so it's what the language they're hearing in their house, how their parents talk to them, are they allowed to question and figure out the world around them and be curious and come home with a story that, hey, I have this new friend at school and they think differently or they look differently, and what's the response from the parents? So that's always what I think about.
Have your kids had any experiences? Obviously it's not race based. I'm going to guess all their classmates, considering the neighborhood you live in, are probably pretty much white. Yeah.
Well, they're not all white. My kids are, obviously, but you know what? My daughter was already getting shit about the way she dresses, and the mean girl, thing about, there's already little cliques, and you dress funny and this and that, and
really,
it's bullshit.
Oh wow,
these little cunts.
It's pretty weird. I think it's you're awesome, dude. I think
I say that too. I say to my daughter, they're just mean girls.
Oh,
don't listen to them.
You didn't say, "Hey, don't worry about it, hon. They're just cunts. They're just."
You know what?
I
didn't, but she's heard that word. My daughter drops the F-bomb, and I'm a bad parent. I know.
Hey, vocabulary. Man.
Travis, I can't even imagine if a kid. I have a 6-year-old nephew that I spend a time with, and in those few hours a week, I can keep it. I can keep my mouth under control. But if I had a kid living with me 24 hours a day,
you can't do it.
Yeah, they'd already be if they were 6 years old, they'd already be expelled from first grade.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I think vocabulary is power, man. Like if you can understand more words and you can use words differently, or you can understand different languages, you are at an advantage. And so
it doesn't mean people who use the F word have a higher intelligence.
There's so many ways to use the F word. That's what I'm going to tell you, right? There's just so many ways.
Yeah,
we're not going to do it here.
there's definitely some weird clicky things, and then of course, like when we grew up, if you didn't like somebody, you just go up and told them, or you went and toilet papered their house or something, right? Now you can cyberbully and do all that weird shit and chat and put in somebody else's name and chat that you're them, and people. It's all fucking weird now, man. But I think for us and for me, and it's just like, the whole mantra of your show is conversation, and talk about it and understand it and experience more things and find your own damn common ground. I thought it was funny when we were talking about, you guys were talking about politicians. I was randomly texting you probably during that time, but and it's like, well, he's a bad politician. They're all fucking dicks, man. Like they're in it. If you're like, find me a politician that is legitimately like, I'm here to serve the community.
That's what I think.
I know that. Yeah, we know that's what Travis thinks. He says it all the time. That equivalency thing. Oh, they're all the same. They do it on both sides. I do understand that, but I think it might be. I'd like to try to put that a little bit in the context, right? There are definitely good and bad politicians, blah blah blah, on both sides. We get all that, but you can't. So when you're, I don't even know. Should I use Biden?
Say it.
I watched a 2-minute speech today from President Biden. He said more intelligent things in that speech than Trump has said since.
But that's not a fair comparison. Trump is like a fucking 3-year-old. Well, and Biden doesn't even know where he is.
But when you guys say, when anybody says, no offense, Doug, but when everybody says, "Oh, politicians are all alike," they all do the same thing. It's just not true.
Let me respond to this real quick. And I had a conversation with my wife about Biden in particular today, and that is, I do think Biden is trying to do the right thing, and we've cited examples, whether it's settling on taxes somewhere in the middle or whatever, I often kind of get concerned, and Mike has to talk me off the ledge. And so the progressives on the left, the ultra crazies, the communists within the party, Mike has to tell me, hey, look, they don't represent the core of the Democratic Party. They certainly don't represent the leadership. Biden doesn't speak for that group.
AOC.
Right. She's a fucking lunatic. But even more established lunatics like Elizabeth Warren. But Mike always reassures me that, Biden he doesn't speak for them. He doesn't represent that group. And I think there's some truth to that. And I do think that if for no other reason, Biden is aware of how polarizing Trump was and that his base is still there. And I think he's very cognizant of the fact that he has got to somehow hold everything together. And if you go back to his inaugural speech, the big theme of that was unity, that I'm going to be the president for all people and I'm going to be the great unifier. And whether or not he can do that through policy or just do it through his public appearances, I do think he is aware of how fucked up and fragmented this country is, and I think he's careful about what he does and says in that regard. Again, whether any of that translates into policy or progress for this country remains to be seen, but for what it's worth, I don't think Biden is a bad man. I don't think he's a career politician in this country, and that has a negative connotation, but if we're going to say there's anybody who can rise above the stigma of all politicians are crooks, so far, I guess you got to put Biden at the top of that list.
No, I appreciate that. I think that is the product of discussion and exchanging ideas that I think is the benefit of this endeavor, right? So, because I'm pretty sure that when we started talking about Biden, you thought not only was he retarded and old and about to die, he had bad, he was the harbinger of the worst ideas from the far left, and
he still is.
AOC would somehow hypnotize him and make him.
I worry about that.
Everything she wants. So, I think that's progress, right? So, Doug, I do understand what you're saying, that you think, hey, look, politicians, they're all kind of alike. They are all alike in a lot of ways. I just kind of push back sometimes on the idea that there are no politicians that are looking out for I think what you're seeing right now in the current administration and after the time we've had over the last, and frankly, I'm going to take it all the way back to the first year of President Obama's presidency. So that 8 years, the last 12 years have been an exercise in just bad character, right? And Obama, look, I'm totally an Obama fan, but the people that opposed Obama, it just got worse and worse, and then they got the power when Trump got elected. So it's been 12 years of seeing the worst politicians out there.
And I think it's probably lazy for me to say like all politicians are the same. And I think you look at the personality traits of somebody that is going to go up and do public speaking and, wear a suit all the time and shake hands and kiss babies and do those types of things. I think that's probably where I kind of come from. They're doing it. There's a part of them that are doing it for them. And yes. I think they like people cheering for them. And that doesn't mean that their heart's not in the right place, having gotten to know some of, our buddy Beto, right? Or, what's his name? Running for mayor now, the Yang Gang.
Andrew Yang.
I believe it's pronounced Yang, but I think he goes with Yang, which is more Americanized. But, that's my Asian snobbiness.
Potato.
Yeah.
Right.
So here, let me give
potato, Yang, Yang.
Let me give you a word I heard pronounced differently from someone who would know. Chungai. What did I just say?
Chungai?
Yeah. Shanghai.
Oh,
it's not Shanghai. Yeah. I mean, there's the word Shang and Hai is not in that fucking word.
It is
Shanghai.
Too. No, it is. I saw the Jackie Chan movie, Shanghai Nights. I was looking for something from The Onion that I saw that I thought was appropriate for this conversation, but I couldn't find it. But
he texts me these things from The Onion, and I have to keep like, oh my God, he's gone off the rail. Oh, wait a minute, this is from The Onion. It's nonsense. So.
But you know what I think about this conversation about politicians is there's an element of that, what you said, Doug, and people who, put on suits and glad hand people all day. But for me, the biggest part that I always look at with skepticism is anybody in government that thinks government can solve the problem. And I am in favor of smaller government. I want government to get out of the way. I think when you look back at some of the big problems that I always complain about, government is the problem. They are the ones that cause the problem. And so the idea that politicians are going to somehow fix it, I don't see an example of that looks to me like it's been working.
So when you say like a smaller government, right, the first thing that pops into my head is the goddamn HOA. Like, that's a small government, and they scare the freaking hell out of me, and those people are wackadoodles.
Are you in an HOA now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And you know what you do to combat that? You run for a position on the board, and you become the president, the dictator. You see, it all goes back to the dictatorship.
Hey, man, like literally before I left LA, I got like a week before, me and two of the guys in the thing, we were like, these people are fucking morons, dude. I've held back like, oh my God, I have to get involved. And they're like, let's run on the same ticket. Dude, we had nice little things, the three of us with a picture, and we passed it out, and we blew everybody away.
Wait a minute. You had a single family home here in California, did you not?
No, it was a townhome.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you bought a house. Okay.
Townhouse, yeah.
Oh, okay. And what are you doing there? What kind of is this single family home where you're at now? I don't want to give your location away in case.
Yeah, because he made $1 gazillion on the sale of his California house.
Well, no doubt.
Dude, let's just say the exchange rate is okay.
Yeah.
From California to
California dollars to Colorado dollars, because that's a different country.
Are you?
This looks like big for a town. Is this an apartment or is it a single family?
No,
house?
he's in a mansion now.
You're in a mansion now. Well,
no.
Do you still have an HOA? Is really my question.
Yes, still have the HOA, and it's
Are
for
you the president of the HOA?
The neighborhood. Not yet.
Good for you.
Unfortunately, it's going that way.
Good for
Where are you at on all this crypto stuff? Are you investing in Bitcoin?
One of our work friend or whatever was like, so how much Bitcoin or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I got the Knicks -6 tonight. And that's kind of where my most recent investment is going to be. And he's just kind of looked at me like I had four legs. And I'm just like, bro, look, I don't know, Bitcoin and Tesla and fucking, guys drilling through the Mars or whatever the hell they do.
I do not understand Bitcoin yet. So
nobody does.
We don't talk about it. We've talked about it a little bit
because we don't know what we're talking about.
Typically I don't know what I'm talking about, but even more so on this. So I just don't know. And for a long time, Dogecoin was, and I still don't know what the hell it all is. So
no, I'm with you, Uncle Mike. It's one of those things where certain things I know, and I'm going to stick to those things, and those will be
gambling in sports.
Are you making money gambling on sports?
Don't answer. Take the fifth, right? The IRS could be listening.
Elizabeth Warren is listening to you. Yeah. How much are you making on the Knicks? Because she's going to wealth tax your ass.
I don't make, dude. Comparably speaking, I bet $5 here or there, but when you do it 20 times a day, that adds up. But no, it's for me, it's more, it's action, right? Yeah. But I'm not trying to make, I'd be a goddamn idiot, and my family would hate me. I'm not banking my future on gambling, right? This is just a fun money, and just
Mike's trying to make some joke about knocking on the table.
Knock on wood.
No, that's the IRS at your door right now in Colorado.
Yeah, I just like to have fun with it.
Do we need the government to wealth tax us to right the wrongs of the inequalities of the wealthy and the wealth gap in this country?
That's a pretty big question right there.
If you're making money, make money.
So the answer is no.
There's no wrong answers, Doug. So
yeah.
It's if you're making money, make money. But I do think some of these loopholes and things like that, which aren't loopholes if they're legal. They're
right.
They're smart people who pay a whole lot of money to have awesome tax attorneys. That's fantastic. And if they're able to get around it, maybe those are some of the things that we need to look at. That, hey, look, you shouldn't be able to write off, gazillions of whatever. But I don't think just because you make more money and you're smarter and working harder, you should pay more.
No, I don't think anybody thinks that. I heard this today. Maybe
your people think that.
Maybe you guys heard this. I heard there was a proposal from Biden for, instead of raising the corporate tax back up on stuff, going back up to, to going from 21 to 28, maybe imposing a 15% minimum corporate tax nationwide. What do you guys think about that?
That's the moment I knew he listened to the podcast. Because didn't I say that?
I don't remember you saying that, but I'll give it to you if you think you did. What do you think?
That's something that's. I mean, then there. I mean, let's get some black and white here, not this.
Let's not make it about race, dude. It's about his money.
There it goes. No, you know what I'm saying. Let's make this as concrete as possible, because the one thing that, if you've got better, smarter, faster, quicker attorneys, you're able to save more money. You pay them, but to me, like, it's got to be easier, right? Like, we just got to make it simpler.
Let me ask you two guys a question then. So here we are, and we've got a bunch of corporations for the most part. We've got a lot of corporations that virtually pay no tax. And I'm not saying they're doing anything illegal, and then we just talked about it, and we derogatorily called those loopholes and then kind of corrected ourselves. So, well, hey, not a loophole if it's legal, but I mean, whatever. But I think that begs the question then, why are those loopholes still in existence? We've known about them since they were there. So then I ask that question rhetorically, and my assertion is that lawmakers in general, over multiple administrations, many Congresses, and this is where the politicians sometimes do seem all the same, is that they have not fixed those loopholes, because it will mean that their corporate donor class on both sides will be hit hard, and they don't want to do that. And we need to hold them responsible and make those motherfuckers close those loopholes.
Well, nobody's willing to start over, right? I mean, just what you said. We always hear the horror stories that the tax code or the whatever is thousands of pages or thousands of words. I don't know, but it's complicated, right? Most people don't do their own taxes.
It's hundreds of letters.
It's hundreds of letters, right? It's Russian letters. It's Greek letters. Yeah. I don't even know. But most people hire a professional tax service because the tax code is so complicated, you can't figure it out. And so nobody's willing to scrap it and start from scratch. There was one dude, remember the guy Herman Cain?
Yeah, Herman Cain.
999. Remember that whole slogan? 9% this, 9% whatever. Yeah. But, it's...
he's dead, and the pizza is dead, too.
I think it's... I don't know.
You know why he's dead? Because Trump gave him the COVID. Trump had him come to
because he shook Trump's hand and he didn't wipe it off like Kamala Harris did.
Was it Georgia or was it Colorado? Trump had a rally. Maybe it was Georgia. And he invited Herman Cain. Herman Cain came. There were only about 2,000 people there or something instead of the 2 million he thought he was going to have. And he sat right in the middle of the audience with no mask on and died 3 weeks later from COVID. Just FYI.
So we're going to add that to the list of charges against Trump, murder of Herman Cain?
No, I think we're going to give him some time off for that.
The sentence?
Off his eventual sentence, yeah, because Herman Cain was a fucking moron. But go ahead.
These fucking tax codes, though, it's like the minimum tax is something I brought up before I heard Biden say it, and the idea is this. You have to separate the Amazons of the world, the IBMs, the Teslas from... the local plumbing company who happens to do millions of dollars in revenue or whatever. They're not in the same classification of wealth. And these big companies, if they're not paying tax because they're deducting legal expenses, that's why they're not paying tax. It's not a loophole. It's a deduction that the IRS allows.
Well, I think, Travis, too, you said before, millions, or is it billions these days? Isn't it always billions?
It's always billions, yeah.
So obviously that has changed over the years. So why hasn't percentages or why hasn't classifications and things like that changed? Absolutely,
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't change because politicians on both sides, right? They know if they make those changes that would close what we're calling loopholes, it will negatively affect the donor class on both sides of the ticket. And remember, it's the same people that donate to the Republicans that donate to the Democratic candidates. And so when you see things like that go from administration to over decades, right, and through multiple administrations of, both Republican and Democrat, that means that the politicians at all have decided not to fix those problems, right? And
we, the people, need to take it back and fix it.
Make them fix it. Yeah, we need to make them fix it.
Term limits, dude.
Travis and Mike, 2024.
He doesn't want to go. He's not on board with my term limit idea.
Not a term limit guy, no. But you're welcome to have that idea. I'll die for your right to have that idea.
Thank you.
Isn't that what we always say? I think it's full of shit, but I'll die for your right to be full of shit.
Yeah, we don't mean it.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. So, what other big topic you got, Travis? We've got Doug here. So I thought you had a bunch of things you wanted to talk about. No, Doug.
I did.
Yeah, I thought you had.
He's just drinking beer. He's having fun.
I know. So forget all that. Here's the thing. After this,
I thought you were telling Travis. I'm like, yeah, Travis. What is the?
No. We're probably close to the.
So,
end.
I have a funny. So I have this list that I've made over, and I'm going to start emailing or texting these to you guys, of my couch funeral questions that I think people should ask you guys, because you guys do a good job about the current events and making sure that the week's podcast is up to speed of what just happened and all that kind of stuff. And I'm always like, I wonder what this would be. But I have just a bunch of crazy questions that I've taken where I just jot them down. And the first one, so you guys, I forget which episode this was, but the word hookering.
Which word?
Hookering.
Hookery?
Hookering.
Hookering. Isn't that isn't that a verb for being a hooker?
I think again back to the vocabulary is power.
Yeah.
And so that was one of I've got stuff like electoral college, good, bad, or ugly. Did you guys like Ross
all
Perot?
The above.
And then literally under that, fine. So under did you like Ross Perot is should hookering be legal?
Hookering should be legal.
Yeah, I think
honest wage, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very libertarian kind of standard idea, right? That there should be sex work should be legal, to use the actual term. But
is that what it's called?
Hookering is more funny, I think. I don't even remember saying. I don't know who said that. Travis must have said hookering. I'm not sure.
One of you guys said it.
That's not my vocabulary.
Hookering should absolutely be legal, and I'm appalled that it's not.
And for the benefit of my wife, I seriously disagree with that.
So here's my next two questions, and I know we got to run, but so literally, and this is in the order, and I just scrolled and picked in the middle. But so after should hookering be legal, it says should Gavin Newsom run for president? I don't know.
This dude, he's going to. There's no doubt about he's going to survive this recall here in California.
He is.
Which if he didn't, then I think his chances of a presidential run would be done. But that's always been his deal, is that he's been running for the next office.
I think Travis and I could answer this in unison, though. The answer to that question is no.
You don't think he's going to run for president?
No, I think the question was should Gavin Newsom.
Oh, should run? Yeah, no, he shouldn't.
Oh,
I think we both
even
agree.
Mike, who every day he supports the Democratic Party and he reads his "I'm a good Democrat" talking points paper, but even Mike he sees the problems with this Democratic supermajority here in California and all the things they've done to fuck up this state, and it clearly would not be a good thing for this country.
And isn't it called California Democrat? Like, there's a difference between a Democrat and a California Democrat, right?
I think they're like communists.
So underneath that one
is,
and I don't, obviously my brain is all over the place on certain days, but it says, what game piece do you choose in Monopoly?
Oh,
there was something that I read that it tells,
I always chose
kind of
the
talks
car.
about your personality.
I always chose the car. I remember vaguely.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even remember, because I recently I played the kid Monopoly. That's what I've been playing more of lately, but I'll go with the top hat.
Oh, the top hat. That would have been my second choice.
I thought I had seen something where like they, some dorky psychology, whatever. I had two minors, psychology and art history.
Oh,
by the way.
Isn't psychology the useless minor that I referred to 2 episodes ago?
I think
he did.
You
took a shit on
teacher.
it.
Yeah. I think there was a hot teacher that I was trying to hang out.
So what do the game pieces say? Do you know?
I don't, but I just remember that's something triggered whatever you guys were saying at that moment. I just put it on there.
I'm going to look it up though.
Yeah.
Game piece would be because I think like car is like, okay, I'm going to run through stuff. I'm fast, And Travis, what did you say? Top hat. Top hat. So maybe thinker or like a
of course
banker kind of mentality of like process.
King, dictator.
Yeah. Hey, Doug, you just used a word. Are you going to listen to the podcast tonight and drink a couple of beers?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Feel free to text us because that's the highlight.
That's the best part of Friday.
That's the Friday. Yeah, that's the best part of Friday night. But just remember when you're listening to it that you use the word trigger today, and then that'll mean something to you when you listen to the podcast tonight.
Trigger. All right.
It's not Horse or Willie Nelson's guitar.
That's right.
You do know my small pea brain now. Like every hour meeting or conference call, I'd be like, something triggered me here, and people are going to be like, what? So I'm definitely going to have to get educated on the podcast.
All right.
Well, hey, it's been a blast having you on, Doug. I know it's a long time coming, but we appreciate your support and all the feedback and, just everything. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
No, great hearing you guys every week. I think as more and more people get involved with Couch Funeral and kind of start that conversation. I enjoy the conversation that you guys have, and I enjoy listening to it. So,
well, we appreciate you spreading the word out there in the Midwest or the
he didn't even know where he is,
whatever that is. And will you come back another time? And
100%, yeah.
Okay,
always.
All
right, my friend. Thanks for being a part of it.
Doug. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
All right, find us where you find us. You can email us at info@couchfuneral.com or find us on Twitter and Instagram at Couch Funeral. And that's it, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.